All right, we're live. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for this big webinar called Leveraging Best-of-Breed Intelligent Networking Solutions to Secure the Modern Workplace. Really pleased to see that so many of you has joined us today for this webinar. We've prepared a lot of quality content. And we also have as well the participations of our partners and colleagues from Centrion, Accident, and Splunk, who will be presenting their respective solutions in regards to intelligent networking. So we'll be speaking about infrastructure monitoring and APM, network performance monitoring, cybersecurity and data investigation. And at the end, we'll be speaking about how MindInbox can also integrate all of these market-leading solutions into one turnkey solution. So yeah, that's really it. We'll have at the end a small period of questions. So stay tuned until the end if you have some for our speakers. Speaking of which, my name is Valentin Dubuc. I am co-founder and director of business development and partnerships at MindInbox. I'm joined today by Pierrick Martel, who is head of product marketing at Centrion. Welcome and thank you very much, Pierrick, for joining us today. We also have the participation of Greg Spear from Accident. He's senior solution manager there. Hi, Greg. Thank you very much for joining us today. And last but not least, I have my colleague Jérémy Farret, who is CEO and CTO, as well as co-founder of MindInbox. So sadly, our colleagues and friends from Splunk couldn't make it at the last minute for this webinar, but that's okay. Jérémy will be able to take over and do the presentation for Splunk. So as far as an introduction goes, to go very quickly, as you can see, I'm speaking quite quickly because we have a lot to show you today, but the idea is that the world runs on IT and that today no IT means no business. This is a mantra of Centrion. We completely agree with that. It's just, whether we like it or not, a fact that we all need to acknowledge that is that we all rely on our IT, that if we don't have access to our data, to our services, to our applications, if we have a bad internet connection or access, if we don't have access, we're not able to collaborate with our colleagues through Teams and Zoom, if we don't have access to our ERP systems, we just can't work, and that can be extremely costly. And so today what we want to show is best of breed solutions that can be integrated together to really give you the best solution possible to ensure that your services run smoothly at peak performance, that you have also the security and the cybersecurity on top of it, to make sure that no such interruptions can disrupt your business. So without further ado, I would like to leave my friend Pierrick the floor to show and talk a little bit more about Centrion, which is part of the MindInbox Secure package in regards to observability and APM. So I leave the floor to you, Pierrick.
Thank you, Valentin. I'm happy to be here today for this webinar. Good morning, everybody. I am Pierrick Martel. I'm in charge of product marketing at Centrion. Centrion is both a company name and it's our product name. Our product is an IT infrastructure monitoring platform which provides holistic visibility from cloud to edge. Let me talk about the company first in one slide. We're French, as you can tell from my accent, based in Paris with offices across Europe. Our headquarters in North America is in Toronto, Canada. Your business is relying on your IT, so we're here to help your IT be always on, because your business can only be always on if your IT is always on. A few facts about Centrion. There is an open source version of Centrion. It's being used by hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and we sell a commercial edition which adds many extra capabilities and which includes a support contract. We have an indirect go-to-market model, which means that we have partners in all regions to sell, to integrate, and to add value to our solution. Last but not least, our company is growing very fast, and we think this is because we have a unique proposal in this field of IT infrastructure monitoring. So let's try to discuss that first. You see, the infrastructure is much more diverse than it used to be. It now combines traditional equipment in data centers, including some very old applications running on some very old operating systems or mainframes even, with multiple private cloud technologies, public cloud, SaaS environment, on-premises equipment at the edge of a network, IoT environment, and they are all working together to deliver the user experience which supports your business across some SD-WAN network maybe. But in fact, what you really want or what you really care is It's not so much about monitoring the equipment themselves. In fact, if a server or router is critical, it's probably redundant. What you really care is about monitoring all the business critical services that run on top of this hybrid infrastructure. And the question that you want to answer is, are the services or business processes being delivered to the end user? This is what your monitoring solution must answer. And this is what Centreon is doing. We monitor the cloud technologies and the legacy technologies. We monitor the network, the security, compute, storage, databases, middleware, everything. And by doing so, we can replace multiple specialized tools, sometimes all tools, that only see one part of infrastructure with a single pane of glass that answers this exact question. Are all critical IT services being delivered to the end user with the right level of performance? So we think this is pretty unique and powerful. Now, how do we do that? Let me change slide here. We think that to successfully monitor end-to-end business processes, there are three key steps, or key three success factors. One is about automating the configuration of your monitoring in order to maintain the monitoring platform up to date and avoid any blind spot because it would not be up to date. And I will discuss that in the next slide. A second success factor is about sharing the information. Keeping the alerts or the information with the level 1 support won't do. You really want all the stakeholders, IT and business, to be aware of things and have actionable insights and information. A third thing that we will discuss today is about integrating your IT monitoring platform with all your IT operations tools and processes in order to build something bigger, which is maybe your next observability stack. So let's start with the number one step here. This is about automating the configuration. To get 100% visibility, you first need to be able to monitor every single type of elements in your infrastructure, and you need to maintain your monitoring configuration up to date because your IT is changing every day. So Centreon comes with a library of more than 600 connectors with built-in configuration templates so that you can monitor any IT asset with one single API call or one single mouse click. And every month, we update this online library with new connectors to cope with new types of equipment on the market. Centreon is an API-centric platform so that if you use Ansible or Terraform or any other infrastructure as code tools, you can make sure that when you deploy a new server, you can also ask Centreon to start monitoring it. But maybe most importantly, Centreon comes with an auto-discovery engine that connects to your SD-WAN infrastructure, Wi-Fi, in order to discover all the new CPEs every day and start monitoring them. Or it connects to your servers to discover network interfaces or hard disk drives and start monitoring them. Or to your cloud infrastructures, cloud technologies, Kubernetes clusters, or Office 365 SaaS service, and so on and so forth. So it's really the combination of these three elements that will ensure that you get 100% visibility, whatever rate of daily changes happen in your IT. Pretty unique, I think. A second step is about sharing the information with all stakeholders, from the level 1 support team to the sysadmin, to the business application owners, all the way up to the CIO. They all need some type of information about the state of performance of your IT, but not the same information and not in the same format. So Centreon provides 4 types of views to cover the needs of each of these teams. We have the cockpit views here on the top left. These are the high-level views about the IT performance. They can be shared with the management team, business owners, or with the end users on big flat screen, hanging on the wall in open spaces. Then you have the customized dashboards. They are created and maintained by each team in order to ensure operational conditions of the piece of the infrastructure that they are in charge of or the application in order to help them doing the daily and weekly routing of their IT services, or to start troubleshooting when something goes wrong. Every team will create their own dashboards with custom widgets. The third type of view is the event console. Level 1 support, they must be alerted and notified as soon as some critical problem happens. Centreon is doing alerting. They need this to be connected to their ServiceNow or other ticketing platform they use. They need these notifications in their Teams or Slack or whatever. So that event console is the productivity tool that they need to react efficiently 24/7. And the four type of views are PDF reports that Centreon will create automatically and send through emails or share on your OneDrive in order to give analytics, SLA monitoring, event reporting, capacity planning reports. The management teams, they need analytics, data, and facts on a weekly or monthly basis in order to take informed decisions. So these are the four type of views that you get with Centreon, which means that each team member has the exact view he or she needs to perform whatever part of the IT operations they do to ensure business performance. That was the second step. Third step, or third critical factor, last but not least, I love talking about IT infrastructure monitoring because this is what we do, but the truth, humble truth, is that this is only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. That puzzle is your overall IT operations environment. It's covering incident management, IT automation, analytics, observability, artificial intelligence, and all the other monitoring domains, network, APM, user experience monitoring, cloud monitoring, and so on and so forth. So Centreon comes with built-in connectors or integrations to all these platforms here and more than that, so that you can build your own observability stack, integrating together best of breed platforms in each domains, maybe Splunk, for example, or Accedian, or building your IT operations excellence by integrating Centreon monitoring with all your IT service management processes, incident response processes, IT automation processes, in order to optimize your productivity, the productivity of your team, and your overall agility. So, three steps: automating your configuration, sharing the information, and integrating infrastructure monitoring with a bigger stack of best-of-breed platform. This is it for me. I will answer your questions at the end of the presentations. Maybe we'll have time for a little demo of Centreon within my inbox. And I will now leave Valentin to introduce the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pierre, for this great presentation, as always. So quickly, I'd like maybe to explain a little bit, what it does to have Centreon deployed within the Magnebox, and so why we're working together. So really, Magnebox brings Centreon as a turnkey solution for faster deployment and customization. We also accelerate the performance of Centreon at the edge. That's part of our IP. We bring also the native integrations with the other partner solutions. We'll talk more about it a little bit later. And everything also all in one unified front end, so you don't have to jump from one solution to the other. Again, everything comes with support and the managed services, so you only have to focus on operating the solution and not maintaining it. And so Centreon is part of our Biotope ecosystem, which allows us to have more than 3,000 native data source ingestion, supporting IoT and endpoint data sources to really have a maximum visibility on your entire IT operation. And so here we can see actually Centreon running within the Magnebox ecosystem. You can see the UI on top. And so on the right, we can see that we can monitor the status of the Magnebox and the data sources coming from Accedian, Centreon, Splunk, Elastic, or different partners, as well as IoT devices such as Raspberry Pi or an Arduino Uno. And so with all of these data sources, we're able to do some very nice actually monitoring in the case of smart buildings, smart cities. Here we have actually the monitoring of an office, where we can see the security with the different statuses of the doors and the windows, as well as the motion sensors to see the status in real time really of the building. We can also pull data from different captures and sensors, which can be here, temperatures, humidity, CO2 level, really anything really. It's part of our biotope ecosystem, being able to take data from about any data sources that you can think of. And here, you have also a visualization with the devices, and so being able to monitor the printer, the machine, the Wi-Fi. It could also be information coming from Accellion in regards to the Wi-Fi. We'll see that a little bit more later. And here, in the case maybe of Industry 4.0, we have a visualization of the statuses for the cameras and the doors for a factory. So here it is a layout, so the status of the cameras, of the machines, the temperature of the machines. And so it really allows us to have a very good visibility on everything that's going on into that factory, and be able to troubleshoot and avoid any interruption of service within that factory. So that's about it. I will leave the floor to Greg Spear from Accellion, who will be telling you more about Accellion skylights. So the mic is to you, Greg.
Thank you. Let's get started. So my name is Greg Spear, and I'll be giving you an overview of the Exceedian solution today. Now, we might think of this, data and more data. Do we have too much data, not enough data? If we look at everything that we have, whether it's logs from routers, switches, servers, server logs, application information, that's a lot of data. However, the performance of devices and applications don't give you the visibility into your user experience. In other words, you may have a bunch of things that are checked off green, but the user experience may still be not what we expect it to be or what the user would like. So we're going to take a look at how Mind in the Box is taking advantage of some of the KPIs, the information that the Skylight solution is providing to really drill down on the user experience. Now, the Skylight solution is made up of a few components, and when it comes to where they're used, right, in the types of networks or applications, we use it often in mobile networks, business to business, IT and cloud. In other words, the types of information, the performance indicators that we're gathering can be used in many environments. How we get that information is through a series of sensors that can be deployed, which could be either hardware or software, depending on the application and the requirements. We also get information from third-party sources as well, so it doesn't have to only be Exceedion-generated KPIs that we bring in to the Skylight Performance solution. Orchestrator, well, that won't get too much into that today, but that's a way of managing, deploying, and so forth, different sensors so you can scale. The part where all this comes into play and where all the action is once we get to Skylight Performance Analytics. Now we can take that data. It can be sliced. We can set thresholds. We can use metadata to enhance it and so forth. What we help our customers achieve, right? Faster troubleshooting, single pane of glass, threat detection. We'll look at that a bit as well. Breaking down silos and optimizing cloud migrations, but really that could be any type of migration that would be optimized as well, or if you think of any change management that's happening as well. Now, one thing that we've seen over time is, networks and security folks are kind of working in silos. They're taking care of what they need to be taken care of, but often one is going to impact the other in the sense that a security compromise may have an impact on the network where consumption goes up. On the other side, something on the network may have an impact on security. So having the ability to get all that information from one source is very helpful. It doesn't mean you need one tool for all your security planning and everything. You're still going to need your firewalls and so forth, but having a view that incorporates network application and security performance is really great. Now, just quickly, right? I talked a bit in the beginning of the network diagram how this can be used in different environments, and here are just some examples of different, whether it's business service providers, mobile operators, or enterprises that are using the Skylight solution to enhance their user experiences, keep track of network changes, and so forth. So what we've done at Exceedion is really show that there's, a better way of getting down to the type of information we need to really get a good feel for the user experience. And this is using a combination of often looking at traffic on the wire, analyzing it, and using the the per packet intelligence or the metadata about those packets, right? Who's talking to who, the TCP information and so forth, and also using synthetic packets that we generate to give us network statistics and so forth in a very controlled environment. In other words, looking at real traffic, how it's behaving, but also sending controlled packets and measuring if there's any changes in those. So by doing advanced analytics on these packets that we have, we can provide the true end user experience. And let's do a quick demo. So here's an example of a view, right? This could be enterprise, and I could show you the same view, but for a service provider where we might have a few different KPIs. But what's interesting here is we have a great view of our WAN health, so we can see at a glance how our network's doing. We can see spikes in utilization. Here we're looking at our user experience, and what this is a combination of RTT, which is the round trip times, server response times, data transfer times, server connection times, all added together to provide what the real user experience is. So instead of looking at just one KPI, we're using multiples and combining them to arrive at the user experience. Now, over here, what we're looking at is something that's interesting as well. Green is good, really not a problem. Red failed, really not really a problem usually to detect these. Where the difficult part is finding applications or network scenarios where it's in a bit of a gray zone. It's not quite failed, it's not quite working 100%. Google has this expression, slow is the new down, and this is where we're getting at, people are not happy, things are not going well. We can see our Citrix is quite high on the list. This would mean my remote users may be having some problems, might want to be taking a look at that sooner than later. So all this to say, we have a great view. Now, over here, we see two service providers as well. So what we've done is we added metadata. We've tagged that data with which service provider it is, so we can quickly see where we have issues. And if I was looking at this at a glance, I would say in the East region, I seem to have a lot of alerts. I have a lot of alerts calling me from this provider, so I would probably be contacting them to get this sorted out sooner than later. If we wanted to drill down now, we can drill down over here and get more information on the network. Here we broke it down once again using metadata by microwave availability, and now we have fiber availability. We have our different service providers that we're looking at. So this is really, being able to slice up that type of information. Now, if we come back over here again, we can take a look at the applications. So once again, we can take a look at not only the different applications, what city they're in, which application we're looking at, what IP address, which component is actually causing the slowdown in the application, right? Is it the server response time? Well, I don't think so, because that seems to be going quite well. So I would not be contacting my server person to check out the CPU. This part seems to be working fine. So all that to say, a great view of the network, a great view of the applications, and the data we need to determine which component is actually causing the problem or the starting to compromise the user experience. So we've seen the network, we've seen the application, and what's important here is now we're opening another tab called the cybersecurity. And what this is giving us is information which can be interpreted as incidents, something's happened, alerts, a threshold of some sort has been crossed, and events are the events that were captured that led to the time or the event that happened. Now, this is all being done with the same data that we're using to provide the user experience, to track, our server response times, to track all this different type of information. We are using that same data, so we don't need to redeploy sensors. We're using the same sensors for monitoring as for getting the information. So here we see incidents, right? So we have a couple of incidents there. We'll take a look. Alerts, so things that have crossed. So alerts, when it comes to events that have crossed, we have some medium, some low, some high, and we can take a look at those and different events that have happened. And then we see the very specific, the timestamps, the source, destination, MAC addresses, and so forth, queries that were done. So very granular information in there. When it comes to incidents, really it comes down to just picking an incident and you would like to investigate. And from there, right, you're going to see basically an overview of what the distribution was, where it started, what the networks were being touched, and the alert policy that was violated and so forth. So really having an easy view of what's happening. As I said, if we come to alerts, we can take a look at those as well. Basically, just clicking on the alert tab, choosing the type of alert we want to look at, and drilling down on it from there, and we can investigate that alert. So all that being said, right, using the same information that we had to look at our applications and our network, we can now see, suspicious activity, network threat detections and so forth happening in the network. So we're even looking here at, people that are on the private side of the network. We're on the other side of the firewall over here. So being able to detect abnormal behavior in many areas that are difficult to look at or difficult to instrument using the same data that we were using to monitor the applications in the network. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Jeremy and Valentin are always available to get hold of for questions. They can get hold of myself or somebody at Exedian if we need more information on that. And thank you very much for your time. And back to you, Valentin.
Thank you very much, Greg, for this great presentation as always. Really, just like from Pierrick. And so, I'd just like maybe to say a word, about what it does to have Exedian with Magnavox. And so, really, it's just like for Centreon. It's about bringing Exedian Skylight at the edge for accelerated performances, but as a turnkey solution. So, to have faster deployment and customization, to have all of the native integrations with the other partner solutions already included, and prepackaged, to have all of the support and the managed services included in it. And so that's really, that's really it about simplifying your access to getting Skylight and to be able to then mutualize and complement it with other partner solutions of the ecosystem to have a real 360-degree visibility on your entire IT infrastructure, including the network. And so Action Skylight is part of the Biotope ecosystem to get such data sources. And so here in this quick dashboard, you can see actually Centreon running within the Magnavox ecosystem, and the metric displayed within Centreon is the metrics related to the network coming from Skylight Analytics. And so with Magnavox, Centreon, and Exedian, you get a turnkey and integrated solution for infrastructure monitoring, application performance monitoring, and network performance monitoring. So that's really what I wanted to say about this. I will leave the floor to my colleague Jérémy Farret, who will be presenting on behalf of Splunk. So here you go, Jérémy.
Thank you, Valentin. Now we're going to look at Splunk, which will come in this presentation in complement to the two presentations that you've seen from our colleagues. And specifically, we're going to present Splunk with respect to security. So here, this is a security that's designed specifically for the digital transformation of your business and in a way that integrates the analysis of your business environment, those aspects that got presented with respect to infrastructure and services and application, but also other source of information. And we're going to see some example of that. So the analysis of the security on your business through especially integrating the different events that Splunk receives. So this first acronym, I'm not going to get into it, it's pretty barbaric, but it's when you look at the SIM, the last two letters are what's important, events management. And also the second acronym that you see is about the O, orchestration. What you do with respect to the security posture once you have the security intelligence. So you've identified the security threat, what do you do about it? How do you orchestrate the response to the security issue? And the third acronym that you see on top of this slide is about behavioral analytics. And so those two last letters, BA, are about really looking at what your system looks like usually and being able to identify anomalous behavior from your users or from your infrastructure or from your applications and services, and being able to use that with respect to your security incident detection and your security posture as a whole. And so if you look at the slide here, you see that the situation is very diverse. You have various sources of information on the cloud, various cloud provider, hybridity, information that comes in many forms. Then you have infrastructures that are very various as well, directly in your business or around your business. From the public cloud that you see above to on-premise installation, it's a spectrum. You have a hybridity of practices between on-prem and multi-cloud. You also have private clouds, which are the same technologies that you have on the cloud, but directly on premises in your business. And so you have a very diverse environment to manage if you want to extract and synthesize this security detection information and have a good security posture. And we see on the bottom that there's a variety of application and sources of data to be monitoring. We have seen example of that through the previous presentation. And so if we get back very quickly to the previous slide, we see here that we need to manage the diversity to secure your business and manage this multiplicity of cloud. We need to provide a unique point of verification, a security center, and have a security nervous center to manage it, and to be able to very quickly, as a third value proposition, discriminate between false positive and real threats. And so we've seen example of the two first steps here, right? The security logging and investigation, that's very much what we've seen in the previous presentation. Continuous monitoring, that's what everybody's about. But here with Splunk, we have two levels of automation with respect to security. A first one where we automate with conventional capacity, but specifically designed in a way that's quite efficient to provide actionable intelligence with respect to security. And then the next level with modern practices with respect to behavioral analytics, the use of AI, the use of machine learning, to be able to learn what's normal on your business and on your network and on your application and service and from your users, and to be able to discriminate that with what is happening. And if there's an anomaly, if there's an anomalous behavior, then to be able to launch an alert and sometimes to orchestrate a response. And so if we look at the way the solution is designed, at the way Splunk provides an ecosystem, we see that we have multiple layers, and it's very classical in the observability system, where there's an integration of those various sources, data sources that we see on the second level that corresponds to what we've just seen from our other partners. That you need a data infrastructure. You can have cloud services, but very often with respect to performances or statutory limitation or the confidentiality of the information, many event management system or many orchestration system are not residing on the cloud, but they will reside directly on premises. That brings many advantages to your security posture. And with respect to applications and solution, then you bring all those different analytics layers and orchestration layer on top of the information that gets integrated in the platform. Again, for the customer, it has to be delivered through the entire spectrum of on-prem, hybridity, and cloud that we've seen earlier. And so you can combat threats with actionable analytics. Here you can see an example of dashboard that does just that. But also you can bring, with respect to a specific business, to your position, you can generate dashboards that are going to bring an assessment of your specific risk. And that allows to do efficient alerting and to have streamed analytics, which are very important in terms of security posture. And this end-to-end visibility that is required, we've seen that it's a spectrum of data sources, it's a spectrum of business practices. Splunk will support bringing that to you. We see an example here of dashboard that brings various data source and category of data, and that is able to bring synthetic indicators and classification of a risk level in this particular dashboard, critical, high, low, color codes that you've seen in the past with respect to quality of service, for instance. And so if we look here at what Splunk can bring within the man-in-the-box ecosystem, we see here that man-in-the-box is on top and allows Splunk to benefit, Splunk user to benefit from the various solution. And if we pick a specific dashboard here to analyze a source of data that comes from the Splunk App Store, here a Cisco equipment, we can explore this very quickly. We can use standard dashboard that have been offered by the equipment, but we can also customize our own. So here, with respect to a FortiGate equipment, we see that here we've customized the dashboard in order to process geo-analytics. And here we can cross the FortiGate data and geo-analytics capabilities, for instance, brought by the mine-in-a-box equipment and components such as Track, for instance, and bring all that capacity of data intelligence, actionable intelligence that can come from geodata. So here we see this is a customer that should have mostly Canadian-based activity. So any connection from other sources is something that is of specific interest. And also with respect to apps that are being used, there are conclusions to be derived from that dashboard if there are some applications that are not the customer's application. Here we see information that was presented, the type of information that was presented by Centréon, a web service data, originally the data, and we see that we can present it in a specific way with synthetic indicators that can be used to gauge the security situation and differentiate between false positive and real threats. And so if we look at Splunk in the context of mine-in-a-box, of course, mine-in-a-box provides faster deployment and customization, accelerated performance, and all-in-one unified front end. We provide the same managed service as we do for our other partners. And Biotop is integrated with Splunk, so we can provide the richness of data sources that we have. Because mine-in-a-box supports the other solution, Splunk with mine-in-a-box benefits from a more diverse ecosystem of solution and data sources on its data infrastructure solution. But also, specifically with respect to Axedion and Splunk are close partners, and the Axedion solution can also be very efficiently used as a data source with Splunk with a very tight integration. So there's added value there and an added facility when you use mine-in-a-box, Axedion, and Splunk in the same deployment. And that allows to bring your security information further with network observability and additional capacity of post-mortem analysis, and also additional data sources, because remember, you've seen the Axedion presentation. Axedion allows to have a variety of sensors, and so in some cases that allows to bring tremendous power with respect to the observability and a way to plug into the various data sources of your organization and business. So after seeing those different sources of information from our technology partner, from our colleagues, now we're going to focus on the mine-in-a-box proposition. And really, we've discussed about that quite a bit at the beginning, but this is what this presentation is about: integrating a best-of-breed solution in a managed environment, in a managed equipment as a service solution. This value proposition that we've created with mine-in-a-box, that we try to bring to every single of our customers, is to have something that's simple to use and to deploy, yet powerful. And of course, power is very often respect to price and to the complexity of deployment. That is data savvy. We've talked about the Biotop environment with the multiplicity of sources, and the partners have presented a lot of the data sources that they bring to the table. Lean and efficient. We've here, of course, the total cost of ownership, but also the energy consumption, which is an important element, increasingly important. We consume 300 watt, where comparable solution to bring the same service can consume a kilowatt and more. The best of breed solution, we've seen a very good variety of it throughout this presentation. And also we try to remain open and flexible, and using open source components, and keeping that constraint in mind when we design our solution is very important. It allows us to customize those solutions for your needs while keeping the cost extremely light. And of course, maximum availability remains a concern and a requirement. We've seen that continuous monitoring is the name of the game for all those solutions. And so Mine in a Box is very much tailored for those needs and is tooled towards maximum availability. We have implantation now that are 5 nines and more that bring very high levels of availability to our customers. So really, when we look at this capacity, the last element of value is scalability. We've designed our solution so that it can scale very well. We have extreme performances for the one appliance itself, but it can be complemented, multiplied with ease. And for instance, with Bell Solution Technique, Bell Technology Solution, we have 5 Mine in a Box that function together. Also, the Mine in a Box Zen and the Mine in a Box Catalyst can scale each other, one manipulating the data that are necessary for AI, and the AI producing deep data that is very useful for data analysis. So there is a scalability both vertically and horizontally here. And it's very important, of course, because you need to bring the sufficient level of capacity to be able to avoid at all cost data loss or interruption. Again, continuity of operation is the name of the game here with respect to observability. And so we had the luck and the pleasure and the honor to have world-class references very quickly. We developed with NVIDIA and Intel in terms of hardware technology. We've seen our technology partners, Axedion, Centreon, Splunk. We will see some of the things that we do with Elastic. We have a partner in edge computing, Ormico, Piloting IoT, and Microsoft, which is our historical partner since 2008, and for some of our teams since 1992. We also operate with business entities, sometimes of prestige, such as Canadian Shared Services, Flex Group, who operates in the Southern Hemisphere, 40 countries, Bell, Englobe, Eradi, as far as Asia, they operate in Indonesia, and we have been accepted and brought a lot of value in collaboration with programs such as the incubation program of NVIDIA, various high visibility AI programs in Canada, and the Canadian National Research Council. So if we look at the proposition in terms of security, cybersecurity, we look at the secure package, Centreon, Axedia, Splunk together. It's very important to see that not only do we support and we bring managed services to those different technology partners, but we can also add an additional layer of AI analytics and of dashboarding. We can generate in real time or in multi-frequency visualization from various solutions, and our partner solutions are no exception. We can add here visibility on Centreon, use the zone of interest that has been identified in Centreon with Axedion dataset as well, and then look at the sources of data from Splunk and operate with a certain agility here and bring in the same dashboard intelligence from all 3 solutions and others. And so that's very important with respect to bringing an integrated solution to our customers. Also, we bring additional sources of information with respect to operational intelligence through our Microsoft partnership. I talked a little bit about that. We have an expertise with ERP system, and in particular Microsoft ERP systems. So here what we see is the integration within Centreon of data that we collect on the Mine in a Box from Microsoft ERP system and Microsoft sources. And what that allows us to do is to bring an additional layer of observability to Centreon with respect to the services of Dynamics 365. And for Dynamics 365 customers, of course, the interest is that Centreon, as we've seen, is a wonderful application performance monitoring environment. And so crossing both of them, we have information about the data infrastructure of the ERP system, of the different services that are connected to the ERP system. And for Centreon, we have access to the ERP data, to the enterprise intelligence that is collected in the ERP system. So here, for instance, logistics, transportation, we see the loading docks, we see the manufacturing information, and we see in the same environment the Wi-Fi terminals and the infrastructure monitoring that we can pull, for instance, directly from the Wi-Fi systems, but also from Accedian monitoring. So we have this capacity within the Microsoft ecosystem and the MyNinobox ecosystem to provide added value and added data information to Centréon. And so we see that those indicators, those synthetic weather indicators can be applied with the ERP system, that we can look at external sources, at customer, at the quality of service offered by the ERP systems, by the different function, finance, sales. We can drill down, click on sales, look exactly what are the services that support the sales capability. For instance, here with several customers, the protocols that are supporting the collection of data. And we see here that some of them need to be looked at, and some loads are worthy of being looked at. So this is really an added dimension that we bring to the table with MyNinobox and the MyNinobox ecosystem about operational intelligence. And so this proposition that we have with MyNinobox about equipment as a service, we support data ops, and we do that through the MyNinobox Zen capabilities. We have an appliance that we developed with NVIDIA that comes and accelerates to accelerate the AI and ML components, what we call MLOps. Then we integrate, as we've said, with the Centréon and the Accedian offers, and we've seen that they can talk together, and we accelerate as well, and we facilitate that relationship between the product. Then Splunk comes into play, and those relationships, we've illustrated them as well, and we come to facilitate it with the MyNinobox appliances and the equipment as a service proposition, and the same with Splunk and Centréon. But we don't limit ourselves there, because we know how to consume from the edge with enterprise data, ERP system, field operation, logistics, transportation. We can bring that information in Splunk and in the other technology partner products. We can also consume information coming from IoT, smart data, smart cities, smart building, Industry 4.0, industrial Internet of Things. And so that edge information we can bring, and we just showed that to you in Centréon and in the other partner product. We can bring dashboarding and orchestration capabilities. We've seen that as well. And also we have a capacity to do that for deep data and for geodata. We'll see that with the customer in a few minutes. We can offer the BI environments directly from the partners. And also we can interoperate with their different data repositories, including on the cloud for hybrid implementation. So as we can see, a large picture, lots of components, but when we see them step by step, we look at the conclusion of all those different presentations that you've seen so far, and we see that they integrate very well together within the same environment. And so if we see an illustration of that with Bell Technical Solutions, we see here that with respect to deep data, for instance, if we have operational data coming from Elastic, we've seen something in the previous presentation from Splunk that we see once again for operations here. It's this cyclicity of operation. We talk about often of seasonality in AI/ML or in Elastic, and in analytics here in Elastic. And here what we see is that that can be used to detect anomalies. For instance, those points in colors here that we see that are outliers. And there can be other ways to extract outliers. For instance, position. Here we see a heat map with points of connection, and the points of connection are only supposed to be from Canada. And we see here that some points of connection are from the United States, probably from VPNs, and technicians from this company are not supposed to use VPNs from the United States. So this can be a point to verify, and also that can be technicians or that can be intruders. So we see here that outliers can also be linked to position, and that can be crossed with the information that we pull from operation that we see there in the same dashboarding environment. So if we cross that coming from Elastic, coming from operation, with what we have, for instance, here in Splunk for the Bell Technical Solutions, we have both environments, and we cross them within the MyNinobox system, the 5 MyNinobox Zens that they operate. Then we see that we can cross synthetic indicators for security with the operational data that we have with respect to the timestamps, and differentiate false positive from real threats. To go further, when we're talking about geodata, we can look at geofencing, for instance. Here we have territories for the technicians. We see the level of activity for a specific territory. We have the historics of every single territory. We can also use geobeams from province to province, and we can bring that information, the historic information, the immediate information, cross that with the data from network observability, and you have a complete environment that allows your security professional to analyze the alerts and to be able to differentiate from a threat that's going to bring disruption to a false positive where you don't want to bring disruption to your operation. So that's very important. And here, if you look at the typical login distribution and you look at a specific historical data for distribution, here we have the average for a month, April, May, June in 2019. And that allows, when you cross that with the real data for every day, to very quickly derive synthetic indicators about the outliers, about the situation that you need to look at because they're abnormal. And that's what allows you very efficiently to have a good security posture and to discriminate between a normal and an abnormal situation. And that allows you to react better. You see here that just having two outliers is different from looking at a monitor 24 hours of the day, 7 days of the week. So why are we on-prem at the edge for such solution? Well, for many of our customers, it's not even a choice. Regulation, data sovereignty, security imposes for them not to be on the cloud. But also there's many advantages to it. And with respect to control on the costs, consumption control as well, and business continuity, it has great advantages. And Bell Technical Solution, they came to our paradigm and they had very good results from it. You can see the testimony that they have with respect to performances and with respect to scalability, going from one maintenance box then brought them additional performance, and then they were able to scale very efficiently by bringing additional equipment as a service from our offer. So in complement, we have cyber resiliency services. We develop them with Accedian and with Under Defense. They have been distinguished many times. They have many prizes, and they have a large palette of expertise that allows them to bring you a cyber security resilience service that are adapted to your needs. With respect to additional service, we have expertise through our partners and through our ecosystem to bring you endpoint capability. We provide that to our customer on a regular basis, whether it is deep data capabilities, mobile capabilities, or IoT, geo-tracking, and a variety of really of sensing and IoT sources. If we look at the general value proposition, if you have a problem concerning your operations, your infrastructure, your equipment, through our partners, through this biotop environment, we can react very quickly for you, shorten your deployment time, introducing our equipment as a service very quickly, collect your data and bring you what matters, which is actionable intelligence. So the first level is really bringing descriptive and some level of predictive analytics. But after that, you can use this data that you've collected as training data, use as well additional information if that's applicable with the same paradigm, and use our AI and ML equipment as a service to go to the next level and to provide prescriptive analytics, to use those modern techniques that are bringing you orchestration and the capacity to detect much better your incidents and also your levels of performances. So if we look at Bell Canada as a second example, and we talked about Bell Technical Solutions, which is a subsidiary of Bell Canada, but here we're talking about Bell Canada, the headquarters. Here we were trusted by them to support them with respect to AI and machine learning, to bring them additional capacity and optimization for their intelligent supply chain for the deployment of a new fiber optics network and 5G networks. And that's exactly what we did. We brought them new capacities of observability, actionable intelligence, to allow them to improve their offer to the customer. And we were dealing more specifically with Bell Business Market, which addresses the professional customers. So to wrap up from all those examples and all those best of breed solution, what we wanted to convey to you is that we have a capacity to help you with respect to your digital transformation and your new business practices. We know that a lot has changed in those last 3 years, that you already were in your digital transformation, but nowadays it accelerated, you didn't have a choice, and that the world of today really needs a workable infrastructure. And really, what we bring to the table with respect to those needs is a higher level of integration. You don't need to go to one solution and to deal with the advantage and disadvantage and the cost of a particular solution to do all your needs with respect to securing your digital transformation. Here, you can pay what you need and get this integration with best of breed solution and get the best of each of those solutions. And when you get this variety of solution, you multiply the value of those different solutions. You don't even addition it, you go further. And that's what we use to bring you more intelligence. Also, because we're very modular, we can adapt more specifically to your business situation. We can customize easier. There's no surprise cost. We give you the space to grow. You don't need to integrate AI ML at first, but you can do your first level of analytics, your big data analytics. You can enrich your data with various data sources, all the data that you have and that you're not putting to work right now. And then you know that with this ecosystem, you will have the space and the solution to take the next steps. And we can adapt with respect to scalability. We can adapt with respect to the price and to the budget that you have at a certain point. There's no surprise cost. And finally, it's turnkey, so we reduce the risk for you. We bring you that common denominator that we developed with our R&D and our first customers, and that's how we accelerate your cycle and reduce your risk of deployment and even your risk of design, because very often deploying such solution can be very complex, has a lot of moving parts, and we integrate a lot of them in an already operable type package, which is turnkey. And so because it is a plug-and-play solution, you lower your cost of development, you lower your cost of deployment, you lower your cost of customization. Everything is included and everything comes with full service. And so that allows you to rationalize your digital transformation project. So now I think it's time for questions, and we're going to collect some of them. If there's not time to collect all the questions, or you think about some questions later on, you can use our emails. But for now, we're going to try to answer as many questions that we may.
Yes, thank you very much, Jeremy, for this great presentation. We do have questions. I see a first one here. So I believe actually it's for you. So you presented best of breed solutions today, which I assume mean that they are not cheap. What kind of budget do we need to start securing our IT operations?
Well, what's interesting really is that those security postures are not built in one day, and it's a step-by-step process. So you can start very small, and some of those elements are really easy to deploy and quite cheap to start developing this security posture. So after that, it depends, of course, on your size, on the volume of data that we're considering. So it can go very high, you know, if you have very sensitive information and a lot of it. But to start, it's very iterative, and it's not very costful at the start. You can even start at the consulting level, see exactly what's what, and then iterate from there. And one of the things is that the solution that we presented with the Main in a Box Zen, our partner solution, they can start fairly early. So it's iterative and it can start pretty cheap.
All right. So let's see if there are more questions. Of course, feel free to ask more to our speakers. So I do see a second question. how do you see these solutions fit in the current IT and business landscape after the COVID?
Do you want me to jump in on this one as well, or depends on
I guess it
who
could be
wants to answer?
for everyone.
Okay. Well, on my part, and then I'll pass the word to other colleagues if they want to answer. But it seems that the practices have been durably changed over those last 2 years, 3 years. We know that a lot of things have changed, and what we see right now is that those practices are here to stay. Hybrid workplace is a reality. Hybrid practices, remote work. What we see of those trends is supposed to continue. Some of those organizations have actually changed their places of work according to it. So it's going to remain critical to look at the infrastructure and to work with this. So that's at least that's what Mind in a Box sees, and of course that's a propitious environment for everything that we've seen with respect to monitoring. And another point that I want to say is that we've seen that the cybersecurity risk has also augmented quite significantly. So that's another element that makes those solutions especially attractive for risk management.
Yeah, and I would like to add, Jeremy, those are all good points, and especially on the security side, and also the application side, but also when we think of more AI and ML that we're introducing in these solutions as we go forward, and being able to detect anomalies as the flows change of where people are, what's a secure environment, what's not a secure environment. These triggers of being able to look at user experience and security events, no matter where people are or as things change, is going to make everybody's jobs much easier, because the volume of data that we're getting is just exponential, and being able to drill down to what's important rapidly is going to really help as I go into this, which is, it's not up and coming, it's the way we work now, and it's the way we're going to continue to work for years.
Absolutely agreed.
And maybe just on the same note, when we think of the changes that are happening, and earlier question regarding the cost, it becomes, how do we instrument, right? And the first rule of what we're doing is do no harm, right? We don't want to be a great burden or so forth, or introduce things that are going to hinder the network. So having the ability, as we saw in all these different solutions you saw today, of gathering information, KPIs from different sources using different methods, is really the key to have the visibility that we're all looking for going forward as well, at an affordable price.
Very good points. Thank you very much, Greg, Jeremy, and Pierrick, for the great presentations today, and of course to our audience. We are now actually at the end of this presentation, of this webinar. If there are some more questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the 2 email addresses you see on your screen right now. And thank you very much for your participations, everyone. Thank you.